All right, so I'm Joseph Doherty. I'm a kind of junior, senior in information technology. This is Tom Rosansky. He's a junior, kind of senior in information technology and computer science. We're here to talk about the fire department management system. For those of you who don't remember, what's the problem right now? Two problems, really. There's paper records. A lot of volunteer fire departments are stuck on paper records. We all know paper records are really slow. They're disorganized. You get lost. They like to burn up in fires really, really easily, so they're not great. So what's the solution to paper records, right? We have electronic record keeping software, which is great. We have some of that existing. The problems with that are it's really, really expensive, oftentimes prohibitively so to volunteer fire departments, and it's restrictive, right? It's not open source software, so you can't share it with your sister fire departments, you can't make your own modifications if you need to customize it. So what's the solution? Free, as in beer and as in speech, electronic record keeping, and that's what the fire department management system is. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about how we've gone so far into the semester. We're, I think, in like week 11 now. We started off really well. Tom was new to the project, new to Qt as well, which is our development platform. He went through kind of cleaning up my code, things like variable names or basic structure, and as he was doing that, because Tom's an awesome, awesome programmer, he's like, Joe, you didn't do this so great. We should maybe make some changes. So I said, awesome, Tom, let's talk about this. We went to the drawing board, sat at the whiteboard for a few minutes, drew some things out, said, okay, let's try and do it this way. We did that for a little while, and then kind of realized, well, we didn't like it that way either. So now we're working on a new system, and it's actually not terrible, because while we're a little bit off schedule, we're actually kind of now implementing something we wanted to do from the beginning anyway. Those of you who remember my first speech this semester, we talked about plugins. So what we're doing now is the core functionality of the fire department management system is being implemented as plugins. The firefighter window, the drill window, the inventory window, and the call window now work as plugins that can be dynamically loaded by the software. So we're not as far as we wanted to be because we kind of redid some stuff, but we're kind of where we wanted to be anyway because we're doing stuff that was planned. I'll let Tom kind of briefly talk about what was and what is.
Okay, so when I started working on this project, I didn't really know anything about Qt or how it worked. So I basically started at main and went through the entire project just cleaning everything up as much as I could. I basically rewrote Database Manager because that wasn't really working too well. And I added a setup window because before we didn't really have much of a setup process. And once I cleared all that stuff up, I began focusing on these windows right here. Now, it actually looks pretty simple, but these are kind of deceiving. WND active call and all of those, they totally violate MVC, which is Model View Controller. So that basically means that we had code for accessing and editing the database right in these windows. And that isn't really a good thing to do. So I designed a plugin system for this. We still have Database Manager, we still have Settings Manager, but I added something called Plugin Manager. Now what this does is it loops over a bunch of plugins in a directory and basically loads them into the program. We've got a base plugin here which basically says information about each of the plugins. It says the name and version number, and we also have something called dependencies, so plugins can rely on other plugins. Now from there, we've got two more abstract classes called Database Object Plugin and MDI Window Plugin. So basically the MDI window is the view and the controller, and a database object plugin is the model. So now if we make any changes to our tables or stuff like that, we don't break like 3 other windows since we have an actual representation of a firefighter in the form of a database object.
Also, we entered the fire department management system into the 2011 New York State Business Plan competition through a company, Fire Department Solutions, which you saw on the title slide. We made it past the first round, so on April 28th, I'm going over to SUNY Albany at the College of Nanoscale Science and Engineering to present the fire department management system kind of as a business model for fire department solutions, which I think is a little bit interesting because as open source, we kind of wonder how can we make money, what's the goal here, right? Obviously not everyone's interested in that, but some of us are. So you are welcome to attend. I'll be posting more details on the blog. I'll have the slides from that, and I'll let you know how we fare. I'd like to show you a quick demo. Because we've been changing things, the whole program doesn't really work now, but I would like to show you the setup that Tom did that relies on the plugins. So when you first run the fire department management system, it gives you a little bit of information. It asks, are you doing this for the first time? Or maybe you already have a database and you're just reinstalling or maybe upgrading. So we'll do a new one. It'll ask you where you want your database to be. This will be automatically populated with a default field, which is where the settings file will be located. I'm just going to tell it to do it right here. It also asks where your plugins are. So here I'm going to tell it to use the plugins folder, which has a couple shared object files in it, which were compiled from our plugins. And because I could only get one of them to build, you only see the one right there. But this is a fine one because it actually shows you how we have the window firefighter plugin at whatever version it is. Also depends on the firefighter plugin. And if I try and hit next and it depends on something, it says you can't do that. And again, sorry, I couldn't get the other one to build, so I can't go from there. But we are working on this. It's pretty cool to be able to actually have plugins and extensibility into the project. This was something I thought was going to be a lot more difficult than it was, and I got to give tons of credit to Tom here for making this happen. So with that, I'd like to say thanks to all of you. If there are any questions or comments, please ask them now.
So what I think, isn't a plugin architecture usually when you're going to have a whole bunch of people writing little things? Like here, I mean, if someone's going to modify the system, why not just have them write a new class or a new window? And I mean, why did you justify an actual legitimate plugin system?
Because we wanted to make it much easier, right? We didn't want, if you wanted to modify this program, you shouldn't have to download the entire code base and link it to the classes that already exist and all that. The core reason for the plugin system was I wanted a texting module as part of this software. I wanted firefighters to be able to open up a quick window and send a text alert, SMS, to all the firefighters in the department. I didn't necessarily want to build it into the core of the program, and I didn't want people to have to do the same. They shouldn't have to download the entire code base to do that. So by having plugins, you can quickly make a plugin as its own project, compile the shared object, throw it into your directory, and it just works.
Basically, different fire departments have different needs. Not everybody will need the SMS module. And if they do, they can just pop it right in and it should work.
The other, Tom just reminded me, the other big thing is that these things vary greatly by state. So actually the window call and the call itself is much different in New York State than it is in Texas or California or at the national level. So that really wouldn't even make sense to be part of the core program because different information is required depending on where you are. Peter.
How much is pluggable? Can I add like new fields in the database through plugins? Can I add new views? And then what happens if I have a database with elements in it that my current set of plugins don't understand? You know what I mean? How is that managed?
You can absolutely interact with the database, create your own interfaces. That's what those bottom two are down there, database object and MDI window. Those are for your model and your view. And obviously you make your controller all on the back end. As far as interactability, that's kind of what the dependencies are for, but where I don't know if we've actually designed a way to handle conflicts or overlapping data yet. Anybody else?